And I'll tell you, I've started to talk to some organizations to see how Echelon Front, my company, can help do this on a national level. What should this training consist of? What are we training police in? Well, combatives, for one thing, shooting, breaching, first aid, trauma, de-escalation. And anybody that's listening that doesn't know much about the police, you might think they do all this stuff all the time. They don't. They don't do this all the time. They barely get to shoot. I bet you 99% of police have very limited training, if any, in breaching, in how to breach a door with a shotgun. Combatives, barely any training. Close quarters combat, room clearing. Urban combat clearance. How do you handle an active shooter? How do you handle a barricaded shooter? And then you've got to run scenarios. You got to put people into these situations. You got to get simunition or some kind of round that can be fired at other people during training. You need assets. You need role players so that people get used to it. And you absolutely get better. This is exactly what I did for a living, was train young SEALs so that they understand what to do in these types of situations. And you can watch and see them learn and get better. And over time, they eventually get to a point where they know exactly what to do. Yeah, they learn about the basic fundamental principles: cover and move, simple, prioritize and execute, decentralized command. They're going to learn about those things. They're going to learn about decentralized command, which means when I show up and there's something going on and I'm the junior guy, but I'm the first person there, I can make things happen. I can make decisions. I know what the priorities are. That's what they learn. They learn how to detach. You've heard me say someone's got to take a step back and figure out what's happening broadly. Well, that's what people learn when you run them through the appropriate training. They learn how to communicate. They learn the importance of communications. They learn not to go into dynamic scenarios without a radio so they can communicate with the rest of their troops. So much of this whole thing was people not seeing the big picture. No one assembled the entire scene to understand what was happening. And therefore, no one made the broad call that needed to be made, which is get in there. Get in there. We're going. And this does take training. It does take training. Now, it doesn't take training if you're a parent and your kid's in there. That doesn't take any training. That's instinct. And I'll talk a little bit about that. But it takes training. I had experienced SEALs. I would have experienced SEALs that would fail to take action when they needed to. And we'd have to have them do that training again and maybe again and maybe again until they realize that when they don't take action, everything's going to fall apart. So even SEALs would have a hard time in some cases figuring these things out.